everyone. As you can see, the background is a little bit different. I'm actually volunteering right now at the Red Cross's Leadership Development Camp in Cincinnati, and my roommate in the background is one of my best friends, Julia. So she'll be kind of in the background during this video just because this is one of the only times that I had to film it. So last week I was on vacation with my family and we went to Niagara Falls. So I wanted to kind of give an overview of everything that we did there and give you a few tips on what to do when you travel to Niagara Falls and how to travel with family and make it a fun, enjoyable experience for everyone. Our first night there, we visited the falls for the first time and they were absolutely incredible. The water is just so blue and there's just the roar of the water like crashing down onto the rocks. It's just unbelievable. You have to go see it for yourself. We took a little tour on the trolley around Niagara State Park in New York. We went and watched fireworks on the rooftop of our hotel that we were staying in. There were like these little pianos all around the town that were kind of decorated differently. There was one that had rainbows on it, one that was like a starry night. It had kind of a smaller town vibe despite being such a huge tourist attraction. Lastly, that night we visited the Hard Rock Cafe. It was actually my brother's first time eating at a Hard Rock Cafe, so that was very special as well. I really liked that they had a Beyond Burger there since I am vegetarian. They dress it up the same way that they do the original burgers, which is really nice, so you get that same experience as everyone else, even though you're like vegetarian and don't eat meat. The next 2 days we spent looking at Niagara Falls from pretty much every angle imaginable. And usually I'm not the type of person to go around like spending a lot of money while I'm traveling, because usually the money that I do spend while traveling is just like on food and to get there. And a lot of times I think, oh, like, is that experience like really worth the money? And let me tell you, definitely is. My favorite by far was doing the Cave of the Winds tour. So this was basically where you got a yellow poncho and you would go out onto this deck right below the American Falls, and the further up that you went, the more that you felt the mist coming off of Niagara Falls. Once you got up to what is called the Hurricane Deck, which is the highest level, you had the opportunity to stand in a corner, like a specific corner of the deck, and you could feel like the Niagara Falls kind of crashing down on you. And of course it's not like the entire waterfall crashing down on you, it's just like a little part of it. But it's so cool because you can feel just like the force and the energy behind it, and you can kind of, it's just so cool. Like, you're never going to get closer to the falls than you will at Cave of the Winds. So that was my favorite thing throughout the whole trip. Tell me your thoughts on the Cave of the Winds.
That was awesome.
Yeah? Can you describe it for us?
Imagine a shower, but more energy.
Dad, what are your thoughts?
Water cannon.
Water cannon. Is that how you describe it?
Yes.
Did you like it?
Yes.
What do you like about it?
Cold water coming down right on top of you.
Yeah. It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah. With a lot of force.
Yeah. There were lots of other cool things to do around there too. The Made of the Mist tour was also amazing. We went out and passed by the American Falls, which is where Cave of the Winds is, but we also went all the way out to Horseshoe Falls, and especially if you're in the front of the boat, you were just like surrounded by the waterfalls, and you get really misty there too. And it was a really cool experience as well, because once you get to the falls, especially if this is like your first time experiencing them up close, it's just so incredible. Like, you feel like you just have to cheer because you're there, like the mist is hitting you in the face, the waterfalls are like right in front of you, and you're with so many other people who are experiencing the exact same thing. So it was really cool to see everyone cheer once we got to the foot of the waterfall. I definitely recommend that experience as well. Fair warning though, when you do go on Made of the Mist or Cave of the Winds, I noticed that on the American side, there are so many seagulls.
There's so many birds. So many. Oh my lord.
Maybe they're not seagulls, maybe they're some other type of bird, but they were everywhere. And my mom and I both had like the ponchos up around our face like the whole time, even when we like weren't getting wet from the waterfall, because we didn't want to get pooped on by a bird. However, one thing that I did love about Niagara Falls that you didn't have to pay to see was the rainbows that were just everywhere. And maybe this is because Pride Month just ended, but like there were rainbows not only hanging from like the street lamps and, you know, flags outside of local businesses, but there were also rainbows like everywhere around Niagara Falls. I feel like everywhere I looked, even as I was like walking, like the rainbows would just like follow me, and it was just such a beautiful experience to have like on a sunny day. And because of that, they have a lot of rainbows on like their merchandise and stuff too, which is incredibly accurate. Because like I said, you'll see a rainbow pretty much wherever you go, and it's just like a sign of happiness and hope. You don't see a rainbow every day, so it kind of like lifts your spirits and tells you like today's gonna be a great day. I'm in Niagara Falls, I saw a rainbow, I'm with my family, it's great. And the last thing that we did on that second day was watch the fireworks at night over Niagara Falls, because this was 4th of July. They light up the falls every night in like different colors, and it's cool to see, but it's not really like super engaging or interesting. It's like a slow change of colors. And of course, like the kids love to see that, and it's pretty awesome. But for 4th of July, they lit up the falls red, white, and blue, and it looked so cool. You can't really see it at sunset when it's starting to get dark, but when it's actually dark, the colors are so vibrant and so beautiful, and it's like, I'm at Niagara Falls. It was just so surreal to like watch the fireworks and see the view of the falls at the same time. There were so many people who went to see these fireworks, and these fireworks were only like 10 minutes long, and people had started lining up like an hour ahead of time. It was insane. So getting out of the park was a little bit crazy, but it was still a really cool experience and a great way to end that day. Day 3 was really awesome as well, of course, because we went over to the Canadian side, and everyone always says that the Canadian side is so much better than the American side, and I have to tell you, that's true. From the Canadian side, you're able to see not just the Horseshoe Falls, which are technically like the Canadian Niagara Falls, but you can also see Bridal Veil Falls and the American Falls. So that's all of Niagara Falls at once, and that's kind of, I think, why people are so drawn to it. Granted, the American side is still really good if you don't have the money to get a passport, or you just don't feel like going over to the Canadian side. The American Falls are really, really beautiful as well, and they have a lot of good walking trails, but the Canadian side really was something else. While we were on the Canadian side, we went to this little town about 30 minutes away from Niagara Falls, Ontario, called Niagara on the Lake. It was just the cutest little quaint town that you could possibly imagine to be so close to Niagara Falls. It just had such like a homey feeling to it, even though it was still kind of a tourist attraction. Like I felt like everywhere I went there as well, like I just heard so many different languages, which was like funny because it is like a very scenic drive, and it is kind of out in the middle of all of this agriculture. But yeah, it's like a cute little town. They have so many little like boutiques and restaurants. It's right on one of the Great Lakes. We went into the lake, and the lake's water was just so clear. Another thing that we did in Canada was called the Journey Behind the Falls. I thought it was gonna be a lot different than what it actually was. It was not what I expected. Because when you think Journey Behind the Falls, you think, oh, like I'm gonna be behind the falls, I'm gonna be able to like reach out and like touch the falls. So I thought it was gonna be more like Cave of the Winds. What it was actually like was these kind of tunnels underground underneath the falls, where you would go to these little windows, and unfortunately they were like fenced off areas, and you would see like just a sheet of water. Sometimes if the wind was blowing different or the water just fell different, it would like kind of come in and splash you, but it wasn't nearly close enough where you could like reach out and touch it and get that same experience as you did at Cave of the Winds. So I was kind of disappointed about that, but one thing I did really love about the Journey Behind the Falls tour was that the view on the lower deck, so not necessarily behind the falls, but right next to them, and this is Horseshoe Falls, you could see again all of the falls that make up Niagara Falls, but you would also be at like the very, very foot, the very bottom of the Horseshoe Falls. And so that was pretty cool, and like it was kind of misting your face as well. So I still enjoyed Journey Behind the Falls. It's just not what I was expecting it to be.
Actions
That was
of
awesome.
Journey Behind the Falls. It's awesome.
That was fun, yeah. That
Yeah?
was cool.
Can you describe it for us?
Bunch of water. Yeah, like a hurricane.
What?
Like a hurricane.
Yeah. Dad, immediate reactions.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Hey. Can you describe it for us?
Misty and mystical.
Perfect.
So for overall trips on traveling to Niagara Falls and traveling with family in general, I cannot stress this enough. Whatever you're doing involving the falls, you need to go early. You need to go like basically as soon as they open, because these tickets, first of all, they sell out so fast, so that like I think when we went to do Cave of the Winds, we went there at like 11:30 and they told us that like the next available opening was going to be at like 2:40. So that was like a full 3-hour difference that we had to make up. We ended up going to a little restaurant at the top of the falls, so it all ended up being okay, but you have to go early because they'll get sold out. You'll have to wait in long lines and they'll be super crowded. But one of the reasons that this trip was so important to me and my family was that it has a very real possibility of being the last family trip that we're able to take all together with me, my mom, my dad, and my brother, because my brother and I are both graduating this year. I'm graduating college, he's graduating high school, and we're gonna be going off into the world and like doing our own thing. So it was really important for all of us to put any like differences or pettiness aside and learn to really cherish like these last moments. I mean, we were at Niagara Falls, for God's sake, like that's such an incredible experience, and to be bogged down by negativity over things we don't need to be negative about would just be really stupid anyway. Much less so if this is like the last time that you get to have a family vacation like this. So I have to say, like, really make sure to cherish and live fully in every moment, and don't let your bad moods or little things get in the way of you having just a great time. And I always say this, but like meditation, mindfulness, patience, and positivity are all so important when it comes to keeping a level head, even when two opinions might clash, or you want to do one thing but like your brother wants to do another. My dad and I kind of had this mantra all throughout the trip called stress-free. We wanted to have a stress-free trip, no fighting, no getting hung up on stupid things like, oh, we wanted like a better breakfast, or you know, the maids didn't give us the right towels or whatever. We want to be stress-free and happy. So letting things go, just solving problems as they come up and not worrying too much about them, and keeping a positive mindset. Lastly, just really focusing on the meaning of the trip. My family, it was really a time that we were supposed to bond, seeing as we wouldn't have too many opportunities like this before. And I felt like I really got a lot closer with my brother during this trip. Just being able to goof around like when we were kids, or just being able to talk to him about things that I wasn't able to talk to him about before, and being able to relate to him and just have fun. So that was my trip to Niagara Falls, and a few tips on how you can make your next family vacation one of the best ones yet. If you like this type of video, hit that subscribe button, like, comment, tell me what other videos you want to see. Where was your latest family vacation to, and how did it go? Tell me down below, and I will see you next time. Bye!
Dad, how's the vacation going so far?
Niagara-nificent.
Oh my God.